All right. So I'm going to do my best to get as straight to the point as I possibly can. So, talking astrology. Astrology is the language or a language of energy. It is a way to interpret, to see, to comprehend movements within reality, as well as your own personal psyche and your own personal experience. Each of these blocks represents a house or represents a space in which each of these spaces represent a specific realm of experiences within your life. So, for example, if we go to the first house, which is ruled by the zodiac sign of Aries, the first house deals with your personal self, your personal brand, your personal life. Things that are close to you to the point of really knowing your personal space. It's also connected to your personality, the persona, which through you discover yourself. And what I mean by that is oftentimes, especially if you have a rising sign that is square or opposing your sun or moon, there's a personality that you may live inside of, that you go through day to day, the way that people know you, the way that people see you, maybe at a moment's glance, but also maybe knowing you a little bit deeper. But that personality may or may not really be what you are internally. It may or may not be corresponding to how you move and how you act and what you do in the world. And through your observation of this personality and the way this personality plays out, you start to learn about who you really are. And so that's what I mean when I say the personality through which you discover yourself. That would be your first house. So that goes on, so on and so forth. Second house, third house, fourth house, fifth house, and we can of course get into all of those, but I'm going to start with just actually the zodiac sign of Aries. Just do that right here. And now, you know what? Actually, yeah, let's do that. Let's go through the houses. Because that's nice and easy. This is not finished, but we'll make do. So the first house, how you appear to others. Yeah, it also can be connected to the way that you look, physical traits, things like that. Other elements come into play, but the first house is definitely how you're seen, how you appear. Going into the second house, now we're dealing with what you feel that you have to offer to the world, which becomes and is really aligned with what you value. So, for example, someone with a second house and some sort of water sign may value something connected to water energy, the feelings, emotions, art that connects on a very feminine level or very subconscious or subliminal level, music that does the same, or music that connects you with a certain emotion or period or time. Those kind of things, emotional intelligence, those kind of things may, especially if there's some air influence there, but those kind of things would be something that a water energy would value. If you're talking about an earth energy, something that they would value, practical things, stable things, things that make sense within reality, things that you can see, touch, feel, sensual aspects of the world, food, good health. Really those things that in the general world are seen as being important. Those things may not be the highest value to all people, but definitely for earth signs in the second house, or even earth Venuses, earth signs in general, the earth energy likes things that are practical, that work. especially Capricorns who like things that work and work quickly, with Mars being exalted there. Then you have the third house. Third house is really going to deal with your first level of communication. When you're in the home and you've got brothers and sisters and you learn how to communicate and work with them, or even cousins who, you're close to, or even your closest friends, that all falls into your third house. Also, those things can fall into your second house with the things that you value, but of course, it can also fall into your third house. And going back to the second house just for a moment, this energy is also where that wealth building begins. When I mentioned that the earth energy is there, it's also an earth house because it is ruled by Taurus. And it's connected to the planet Venus. So what you're dealing with here is Venus being the producer planet. It's the womb. It's the great mother that gives birth to whatever is inside of your universe, and Taurus being that fixed earth energy, which is a very patient and very stable energy. Like Dolo calls it a tree. You can think of that as a tree, the big, stable, stern, immovable object with deep wisdom and a deep underside. Tangent. Anyway, so if you want to look at your houses and see what house should I look in, like if I want to figure out like how to make money, you're going to look at your earth houses, which are going to be your second house, your sixth house, and your 10th house. Back to third house. It's going to deal with early childhood education, your schooling when you're young. Of course, I already said the communication part, your immediate family, close friends. And the basis of how you learn, your base mentality, your base Mercury energy, because you're dealing with Mercury energy, you're dealing with Gemini energy, the mutable air sign. So air is really thoughts and ideas and those more intangible right-brained energies. Yeah. Right. So moving on to the fourth house, we're dealing with the home, we're dealing with the mother, both the esoteric and the non-esoteric, your mama, your heritage, your roots, your ancestry, your deep dark DNA. You know what I'm saying? This is where you find the moon, and the only sign connected to the moon as far as a ruling planet, which is Cancer, the water sign, the cardinal water sign, the initiating water sign, the initiator of feelings in the external world and the internal world, the energy that always feels some type of way but is not in their feelings. What we're looking at here is really your basis, your home base, because this doesn't have to quite be a space or location. It can really just be a spirit space. It can really just be an energy that you are inside of, and that energy could be connected to your relationship with your actual mother. It could be connected to your relationship with your subconscious energies, your maternal energies, your feminine energies. It could be connected to your ancestral energies, people who have passed and are still with you or very close to you, especially grandparents, aunts, uncles, parents, children. And of course, all these houses kind of blend. You can probably see how something in the second house can also be something that falls in the first house. Something in the third house can also be something that falls in the second house. Fourth house can be something that falls in the third house. These things do blend as they come in degrees. 30 degrees to be exact, 33 to end the cusp. So that's 0 to 32 degrees, or 0 to 2 degrees in the next sign. Anyway, wow. Moving on to the 5th house, we're looking at Leo, the only sun connected. The only sign that rules the sun. Fifth house is creativity, entertainment, children, etc. True love, your art form, the ego. And so when you're looking at the 5th house, you're really looking at things that you create that you love. That's why we're looking at entertainment. That's why we're also looking at children, which seems like they aren't necessarily related in a sense. So when you're looking at children, those are something that can be something that you create, that you love, of course, or that you give shape and form to, that spirit uses as a vessel. And then when you're talking about entertainment, it can be things that you entertain, people, places, and things that you entertain, things that entertain you. All of those things are really a part of the ego. It's like the 32 flavors of Baskin and Robbins. It's with one flavor of ice cream, the ego doesn't have any ice cream to identify with as their favorite. But with 32 flavors, you might just be that guy or girl who really, really digs that mint chocolate chip, and mint chocolate chip is your shit, and you got to let people know that mint chocolate chip is your shit, and now it becomes a part of your ego. Maybe not so much your personality, but the way that you experience the world. A lot of things within the world we identify with as a part of our ego. And when we enter states where the ego dies, or where we're in deep meditation, those things are no longer present. That's when the sun is not there. That's when the sun is not shining per se, and that sun is the light that we exist in. That sun is the ego that, our spirit is able to experience a human life through. Moving on to the 6th house, we've got the house of health and service. Dang. All right. So you're looking at Virgo energy here, mutable earth energy. This is adaptable earth energy. So when you say solving problems, they adapt, they change, they solve all the problems. With that Mercury energy, that's the dark side, the feminine side, the receptive side of that Mercury energy. The Mercury energy, which deals with the flow and movement of energy in general. So that can even be money. That can even be communication and talking. I say water because of, currency and all of that, because water is fluid. Talk about Mercury as air, the thoughts and ideas, the exchanging, the communication, the talking. Talk about fire and the exchange of light, the exchange of images and ideas and expressions. Or even the exchange of actions. Shoot. That can be initiated there. Because the degree to which there is an exchange of energy is connected to other planets. The actual exchange of energy itself occurring is that Mercury energy. So there's that. I guess I can get deeper into that at another time. 6th house energy is dealing with health and service and daily work and daily jobs and daily tasks and things you do all the time, which, is why it can be your job. Because it's Virgo energy is always trying to solve the problem, always trying to find a new practical way of doing something, always trying to make a better way of doing something. Why? Because Virgo is perfecting. Not perfect, perfecting. But it wants to be perfect. Virgo really does want to be perfect. It's not perfect. And sometimes that perfection or that need to be perfect can really freeze that energy. Which is, where Virgo just has to learn discernment to know, what level of perfection do I need in this particular occasion, and be able to move on and come back and always keep improving, always keep working, and not worry so much or put so much on themselves. But also take care of themselves, because that energy also lends itself to helping others rather than, looking after oneself. And that brings in that health and service thing. They are the caretaker. It is the Virgin Mary. So, yeah. 7th house. You are now entering the more public of the houses. 1 through 6 is going to be more personal. 7th through 12th is going to be more external. If you look at your natal chart and you have a lot of planets within your 1st through 7th house, you're probably a pretty private person. You're also probably a person that people like right off the bat. 7th through 12th house, you're probably more of a public person. Maybe someone that people do not like at first, or really come into liking later on. So, 7th house, you're looking at partnerships and marriage, how you deal with relationships, how you relate to other individuals, businesses, business partners, which can also leak into the 8th house. The 7th house is really just going to deal with that next level of relationships, where the 3rd house was the first level of relationships. That's your first air energy. Now we're looking at the 2nd level of relationships, the 2nd air energy, Libra, the initiating of air, the initiating of thoughts and ideas, the initiating of relating experiences, because we're bringing in Venus, whereas Taurus is relating in that earth sense, the value sense, what you have to offer the world, what you can give, and what you take in, what you want to take in. And that 7th house now is that air energy, that same kind of thing, but it's more thoughts and ideas. This is more a lighter version of the mentality. Because when I think of mentality, I think of it more in an earth sense, where it's a grounded thing, a grounded element that creates ideas and thoughts. That being said, we'll just, I'll get into that some other time. With the Venus energy here, that's of course relating, love, relating to a lot of people, things, places, spaces. The 7th house energy is really just going to be that outside, external, what you project on the world, So, oftentimes, all right, let's fuck this one up. So 7th house energy. Say your 1st house is in Aquarius. Your 7th house would be in Leo. So where the 1st house, you might be someone who appears to be kind of a far out person. Your 7th house, the energy that you project on other people, may be the ego that they live in. You may be a person that sees very deeply into the ego, very deeply into the aspects that make up the ego of people. Let's say for a Cancer rising, then you're looking at a Capricorn 7th house. You're looking at the initiating of practical things, the expedience of things. So when you look at others, you may see their business potential. You may see ways in which they can conquer their realm, their earth, their world. You may see you may really see and value both of those things in there. So the 7th house energy, when I wrote how you relate to other individuals that you're in direct energy connection with, you're bringing in that energy when you begin to relate, when you try to express and go back and forth. So going back to that Aquarius rising 7th house in Leo, that brings in all of that Leo energy as far as when you're in those one-on-one situations. It brings in all of that fun, all of that identity, and connecting with that sun energy, that center energy. Eighth house, we're dealing with all of that stuff that's written right there, but also just hidden things in general. You're dealing with the underneath. You're dealing with what's unseen, especially when it comes to emotions, because we're looking at the dark side of Mars, the ruler of Pluto, dark side of Mars and Pluto, the feminine side, Scorpio. So this can deal, when it says it deals with the occult, it's because it's hidden. When it says it deals with sex, it's because it's hidden. When it deals with death, it's because it's not seen, it is hidden. When it deals with magic, it's hidden. When it deals with other people's money, it's in the case where it's hidden. When it deals with external power interacting with you internally, people aren't seeing that shit. And if they do, they only see a part. They don't see the whole thing. Moving on to the ninth house, we're dealing with expansion, spiritual wisdom, mystical religious patterns, advanced learning. That's higher level learning, higher level communication. That may not be communication with words. That may just be communication as far as your understanding of communication, etymology, diving into the deeper aspects of life, deeper aspects of energy, deeper aspects of the universe. When we say religious patterns, we know that pattern, paternal, father. Patterns make up matter, maternal. The father and the mother come together to create. So patterns make up matter, and the recognition of patterns is an aspect of the Sagittarius energy, which is the ninth house energy, connected to Jupiter, connected to expansion, connected to spiritual wisdom, growth, and all that good stuff. 10th house, you're dealing with your status, how you're seen in the world, social media, the community of the world, the public, your administration within the world, Big Daddy, your father, your esoteric father. So you're dealing with a combination of Saturn and Earth energies, Saturn being restrictions and boundaries, but also being structures. And of course, Earth energy being Earth. All those material and physical things, those third dimensional things, those Capricorn initiating of energy things. Next, we have the 11th house, ruled by Aquarius, that Uranus, and Saturn energy, friends, group activities, and aspirations. This is really going to be an evolution of that 7th house energy. So where your 3rd house is going to be your first interactions, your siblings, the first way you learn how to communicate. Your 7th house is going to be now how you communicate when you start to get into relationships, and when you start to get into business partnerships, and when you start dealing with people in the outside world who you start to bring down your houses, bring through the 6th house and 5th house and 4th house and 3rd house and 2nd house, and interacting with them on a more personal level, even before all of that. And at the same time as all of that, you're dealing with your 7th house. But also, of course, it leaks over in the 8th house because they're secrets in relationships, hidden things in relationships, but also service in relationships, daily work done in relationships. And then when it comes to marriage, 1st house, come on. That's super personal. That's probably something that you value, so that's probably going to be coming into the 2nd house as well. So just know that, many elements of life are affected by many of these, but all of these are very specific in the kind of energies that you're dealing with. Because when you're looking at the zodiac and you're looking at the planet and tying everything together, then you're really seeing what these things mean. And what I mean by that is this question, where does this unfold in my life? You can answer this just by looking at the zodiac sign and the planet. Because if you look at Libra in the 7th house, whatever, Libra, initiating of air, Venus, the planet of love, Shoot, let's go to the planets. Let's go to all this information. Venus representing your love nature. Venus is the planet of harmony, beauty, refinement, cooperation, appreciation of the arts, unity. Its basic personality purpose is to assist you in developing an awareness of others. All right, so we're developing an awareness of others. Developing an awareness of others and initiating thoughts and ideas. Does this not sound like a relationship? Of any sort. Or at least of many sorts. '11th house. We're dealing with, sorry. Yeah, so back to the 11th house. We're actually on the 11th house. So when you're dealing with this energy, we're talking about Aquarius and Uranus and Saturn. Uranus is the great awakener. It's the rebellion planet. It is really your personality. You know, it's the masculine side of Aquarius is the masculine side of Saturn. So whereas Capricorn is creating these structures and boundaries, Aquarius is also creating structures and boundaries. But with its combination with Uranus, it is also rebelling and going against the grain and changing and bringing something new to shine new light, to show new things. Yeah. So group activities, the world at large, inspiring things, technology, like especially computers, whereas it's like a structure, but that changed the world completely. And now we're exchanging all this information in the Aquarian age so quickly, stuff like that. And then the 12th house, finally, that's the house of Pisces, Neptune. You're dealing with the subconscious, and the unconscious. The difference being the unconscious is things that are energetic realms that are not touched. The subconscious are energetic realms that exist beneath your conscious realm. What I mean by that is, if someone throws a ball at you and you're looking right at it, you're either going to flinch, catch the ball, or react in some way. That base reaction is a subconscious energy. It exists within you already for whatever reason, whether it came there through your experience of growth or whether it was there genetically. An unconscious thing would be say you had a repressed no, that's a terrible example. Unconscious would be something that you felt like you never even knew, but as soon as you know it, you knew that you knew it. And then it becomes more like a memory. You know? So that would be more like the wonderful story of Osiris, where Osiris gets killed by his brother Set and dismembered and his body parts scattered. And Isis, who is that feminine aspect, that subconscious aspect, has to go and pick up the pieces and bring all of those pieces together in order to remember the body, remember this great unconscious energy, which makes it conscious to that energy, which is subconscious energy. And then from the subconscious energy, we can pull out conscious energy. But at the same time, it could just stay subconscious. So I hope that was a decent overview. Of course, we can get into more details later, but I just wanted to make a video. So I'm doing this, running through these, and yeah. Hopefully that was pretty... yeah. Shout out to Dolo, shout out to Brother Panic, shout out to Class 43, shout out to the Soul Group, and we're out.